welcome back to Reading with Linda. I'm hoping that you're reading the books that we're putting out this summer and we're pushing. And this week our theme is on patriotism. And I can't say it any better. I'm going to just read what's in this book called Revolutionary War that you can check out at the library. It's about America at war. And it's called A Nation is Born. More than 200 years ago, an amazing thing happened. Farmers started a war with the greatest army on earth. It was the war that created our country. They fought to form a new nation. They fought for the ideals of liberty and freedom. The first shot fired in that battle was called the shot heard around the world. It echoes still rings today. The colonists won their fight to be free from Britain. Their war made history. For the first time, a colony made itself free. The nation they built was the first to let people choose their leaders. They call their nation the United States of America. It became the strongest country in history. Today, their victory still inspires Americans and people around the world. And that's what the 4th of July is really about. It's about when our nation became a nation, when it was born. It's 244 years this year, on July the 4th, and that's a bunch of candles on a cake. But anyway, I want to tell you about some other books that we have. We have this book called The Declaration of Independence, and it has about 5 little chapters in there that you can read, and it tells you about how these things came about. Welcome to the New World, a formidable juggling act, the news travels far and wide, and then it gives all interesting little facts about the Declaration of Independence, which was what signed on July the 4th, 1776. All right, I have some of the heroes of the Revolutionary War. This was one, the great little Madison. People know that James Madison was the 4th president of the United States of America and the father of the Constitution. They may not appreciate the force of this man who seems in retrospect to be almost indispensable to our early history. He was one of our forefathers. And then we have, all right, if you wanted to know how they lived during the colonial times, what was going on and everything, it certainly wasn't like it is today. And it's kind of interesting to find out what was going on. Some of the chapters that you're going to be reading are about ships, about the 13 colonies, not the 50 states. Colonial towns, a merchant's house, working life, family life, colonial fashions, religion, food and the drinks that they had back in the days, games and pastimes. It wasn't on the cell phones, I can tell you that much. Their health, and about them breaking away from Britain, Great Britain. All right, one of another our heroes was Paul Revere. And I saw something in here that's really interesting about him. It said, on the night of Tuesday, April 18, 1775, the road to Lexington lay empty and silent in the moonlight. Families slept behind closed doors and shuttered windows. Then from a distance came the clippity-clop of a galloping horse. The sound grew louder, and a moment later, a horse and a rider raced into sight. They pulled up in front of a farmhouse, and the man banged on the door. "The regulars are out!" he shouted. A light flickered, and then it burned steadily in an upstairs room. A farmer threw open the shutters, and he stuck his head out the window. But the rider was already charging along the road to the next house, where he repeated his warning that the British Army was on the march. The messenger's name was Paul Revere. You have to read it. It's very interesting how what Paul Revere did. Might seem like a little thing that he did, but it's everybody knows about it. Another one was John Adams, and this one's kind of got a little cartoons in it. But John Adams was another of our forefathers that became a president. He was the second president of the United States of America. He was born in Braintree, Massachusetts in 1735. And because, I love this, he was a cranky a lot of the time, and he was kind of arrogant, John Adams wasn't the most popular president there was. Now, I love this about him though. Although he was short-tempered and he thought a lot of himself, he had many good qualities too. His friends, the people that he worked with, and even his enemies always respected his intelligence, his generosity, his honesty, and his courage. Nothing could stop John Adams from fighting for freedom and American independence. And like I said, he's another one of our American forefather heroes. All right, another one I didn't read a lot about it, but it's Give Me Liberty. It's the story of the Declaration of Independence. And you'll just have to read this one to find out, but it's got a lot of good pictures in it and things that were going on during the colonial times. And I'm just hoping that you're going to get so thirsty and hungry that you're going to say, I got to have that book to read. All right, now my big books that I picked out I picked out two on Nathan Hale. One of them is by Virginia Frances Boat. Now these are fictional books. And it starts out as a young boy, Nathan Hale loved to play outdoors and to read when he grew up to become a teacher. At the same time that he was a teacher, there was trouble between the American colonies and the King of England. Soon there was a war, and Nathan joined the American Army. One day he said that he would help General George Washington by spying on the British. Nathan was very brave, but he was captured by the British. Because he was a spy, the British were going to kill him. And you're just going to have to find out what happened to Nathan Hale. Like I said, I've got two books about Nathan Hale, but he was certainly a real-life hero in the war, but these books are fictional, but based on fact. Another book is Johnny Tremaine. I like this book. The year is 1773. The scene is Boston. Johnny Tremaine is 14 years old, and he is apprenticed to be a silversmith. He's gifted, and he's very arrogant, and he knows it. He's a happy-go-lucky fella and clever, and he lords it over the other apprentices until the tragic day when a crucible of molten silver breaks, and Johnny's right hand is so burned as it's useless, and he thinks his life is over. After a period of despair and humiliation, Johnny becomes a dispatch writer for the Committee of Public Safety, a job that brings him in touch with Otis Hancock, John and Samuel Adams, and other Boston Patriots, and with all the exciting currents and undercurrents that were to lead to the Tea Party and the Battle of Lexington. There on the battlefield, he learns from Dr. Warren that his maimed hand can be cured so that he can use a musket and someday return to his trade. And it's just a good book to read, and it's on the Revolutionary War. Now this one is kind of an odd book. It's Corn Stalks and Cannonballs, and it's by Barbara Mitchell, and it's a satisfying, self-contained story of the town of Lewes, Delaware, where in 1812, a combination of luck and pluck was used to defeat the British Navy. See, not all of our war was fought on land. A lot of it was fought in the water. So the author, Mitchell, she creates her historical atmosphere well, and she gives the readers the best of the action of that day. This was another good book to read and everything. All right, I'm just going to put in some that I found on the cloud. All right, the first one that I found on the cloud was called Revolutionary War on Wednesday. It's a Magic Treehouse book, and It's a dark and a snowy night when the magic treehouse whisks Jack and Annie back to colonial times. General George Washington is about to lead the army in a sneak attack against their enemy. But now a terrible weather is making the great general question his plans. Can Jack and Annie keep history on track? The fate of the country rests in their hands, and I would suggest reading that one on the cloud. Another book that I found was called The Revolutionary War, a children's picture book. In this book, children can learn about Revolutionary War and also discover beautiful, vivid photos as well. With a bunch of facts, kids can utilize this book to study for school projects, or they can use the information as a guide to discover and learn some amazing things that happened during the Revolutionary War. And my third one on there is called The American Revolution. It is also a Magic Tree House book. When Jack and Annie, the heroes of the Magic Tree House series, when Jack and Annie got back for their adventure in Magic Tree House Revolutionary War on Wednesday that I just mentioned, they had lots of questions. What was it like to live in colonial times? Why did the Stamp Act make the colonists so angry? Who were the Minutemen? What happened at the Boston Tea Party? You're going to have to do like Annie and Jack and read this book, find out the answer to these questions and more as Jack and Annie track the facts. Okay, I'm on Hoopla now, and I found this interesting book called The Prison Ship Adventure of James Fortin, Revolutionary War Captive. He's captured at sea. A young man must choose between his country and his freedom. The Atlantic Ocean, 1781. James Fortin is a free African-American sailor on an American ship, the Royal Louise, during the Revolutionary War. After his ship is captured by the British, he becomes a prisoner on the Amphion. James worries that he will be sold as a slave. Will James ever see his home again? I would check this one out on Hoopla. This is a good little book. Another one that I picked out is here. Yes. This one is The Top Secret Adventure of John Derrick, Revolutionary Spy. Now, that was a tough thing to go into, being a spy, because there was some pretty rough things that would happen to spies. Under the nose of the enemy army, a boy carries a dangerous secret. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 1777. John Derrick's family has sided with the rebel colonists during the Revolutionary War, but the family lives across the street from the headquarters of the British Army, their enemies. The Derrick family spies on the British, and John takes messages to his brother in the rebel camp. Can John sneak past the British soldiers this time? I'd be for reading that one just to find out what happens to him. All right, so we have got two different things going. This one I kind of like because it looks like it's a woman. The Horse Riding Adventure of Sybil Ludington, Revolutionary War Messenger. The Connecticut countryside, 1777. A messenger arrives at Sybil Ludington's farm with bad news. British soldiers are starting to burn the villages in the area. Someone must alert the colonial militia, and the messenger's too tired. Sybil volunteers to ride from farm to farm through the dark forest. Can she rouse the soldiers in time? You just have to read this one to find out. And I have one more that I really thought was interesting. It's called Patriots, Redcoats, and Spies. Kind of a little bit of everything that I've been telling you about. When Revolutionary War patriot Lamberton Clark is shot by the British soldiers while on a mission for the Continental Army, he has only two hopes of getting the secret message that he's carrying to General George Washington. His 14-year-old twin boys, John and Ambrose. Upon discovering that their father's a spy in the Culper spy ring, the boys accept their mission without a clue about what they may be up against. They set off from Connecticut to New Jersey to find General Washington, but the road to the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army is full of obstacles, including the man who shot their father, who is hot on their trail. Man, that looks like one that I'd want to read. So check out Hoopla. That one's on Hoopla. All right, so I want to encourage you to go to the Concordia Parish Library webpage. Now, some of you have been asking me, so I just don't see it on there. If you want to see any of our videos, go to the thing at the top that says events. When you push events, at the very bottom, it's going to have summer reading program. Push that, and all of the things that are on this week are on there, and you can watch it all week. I mean, it will keep you busy the whole week. There's Page Turner, there's Miss Patsy's Corner, Ventures Crafting, me, and all kind of little things that Mr. Collins, Stephen Collins, has come out with. You just have to go over there and find out. You don't even need a library card to do that. But some of the other things that you do, we offer the cards for the Hoopla and the Cloud. You just have to call the 4 branches and tell them that you want a card. All right, so I want to tell you, have a happy 4th of July and be safe out there. And I'll see you back again on Reading with Linda, possibly next week.